This video is going to be about understanding and diagnosing problems with the case 3-point linkage lifting system. It is on a case 1494. Some of the basics with this problems with this tractor was that it was lifting the 3-point linkage but not lifting any weight on the 3-point linkage. After a bit of a look around, they suggested testing pressures in the breakaway couplings here. That was testing up over 2000 psi at an idle. I didn't find much other help, so this is a video to help other people diagnose their problems. To start with, we need to understand that this tractor has a twin pump in the front here. You have one pressure coming out of this pipe here and pressure coming out of this pipe here on the right hand side at the front. So that's a twin pump in the front. Now this one here supplies pressure to the lift, and this one up here supplies pressure to the breakaways. So when you're testing just at the breakaways, you're only testing one of these two pumps. We'll hop underneath here. It's just in front of the right hand wheel, and these are another two important things to understand under here. These are pressure relief valves from the main lines here. These are the pressure lines coming back, and this pressure relief valve here belongs to the outside line here. This outside line comes in up in there and then comes through to this pressure relief valve here, and likewise the other line comes in and to the rear pressure relief valve. Now it's worth checking these pressure relief valves. You cannot buy new ones anymore. They're not a serviceable item. You can pull them apart and check them, but for testing purposes, because the breakaways were giving a high pressure reading, I simply swapped these two valves around. So you've got to drop all the oil out of the all the oil's got to come out of the transmission, and they just simply unbolt and swap around to make sure I had a good pressure relief valve that was testing okay on the 3-point linkage lift system. The other thing to note while we're under here is this bung here can be removed. That can actually be removed with the transmission full of oil. Some oil will come out, and you can screw a pressure gauge in there to test the pump as to what pressure you're getting out of the pump. The only thing is, I didn't know whether I was also losing pressure through some of the internal valving at the back of the tractor. So I'll just show, I'll get out of under there. I'll just show what I did. I simply made up this little plate just out of a bit of 3mm aluminium, and that pressure line from the relief valve comes back here. This is it coming up here on the back of the tractor and into this pressure filter. I simply undid these two bolts here and slipped this little plate that I made up in between the hose and the filter housing, and then did the two bolts back up tight with the rubber O-ring in there, so effectively deadheading the pump. So when I started the tractor, it would be pushing the pressure over the pressure relief valve. At an idle, I was only getting 1,000 or not quite 1,000 psi, and even when I revved it right up, I wasn't getting very much, which led me to believing that the pump was no good. So I fitted a new pump in the front here. As you can see, that's a brand new pump gone in there, and once we've put the new pump, our lift is, I haven't tested the pressure, but our lift is picking up 800 kilos of water in a spray tank, where before it wouldn't pick it up at all. Now it'll do it at an idle. Just another thing that I did do on this one was in here is your ram. This one was pretty easy to do, 3 bolts and the whole back comes off, and you can get the lift cylinder out, and I put new seals on that just to be sure that that wasn't leaking. The other thing I found that's worth looking at too, with the old pump, the spline in the front here, might be a bit hard to see, but that spline in there is all chewed out, and on this drive as well, the spline on one end of that, the pump end, is all chewed out. So I also put a new spline and a new coupling with the new pump that's been put in. So that wraps up pretty much. I did check some of the other valving in the back here, but didn't find any problems with any of that. It just seemed to be simply a pump worn out and losing pressure and wouldn't work the hydraulics. I hope this helps someone else diagnose their low lifting ability on their case, or case David Brown with the twin pumps. The only information I could find really was on the single pumps or the internal pumps, not too much on the twin pumps in the front. So hopefully this helps somebody else.